What if the American Revolution didn't begin with muskets, but with sermons? What if the fight for liberty started not on a battlefield, but in the human heart? Long before independence, a different kind of awakening swept across the colonies. It didn't come from government. It didn't come from power. It came from pulpits, from fields, from ordinary people. And when it was over, America would never be the same. Welcome to Patriot Hippie. In our last episodes, we've seen how faith came to America, how people searched for the freedom to worship, and how that freedom slowly took root. But in the 1700s, something changed. Faith became personal. Not just tradition, not just going to church, but something deeper. Historians call it the Great Awakening. There were several waves, moments when people turned back to God with renewed conviction. These awakenings did more than shape churches. They helped shape the American spirit. In the early 1700s, many churches had grown quiet. Faith was still there, but often routine, formal, distant. Then something stirred. A preacher named Jonathan Edwards stood in a small church in Massachusetts and delivered a sermon that would echo through history. Sinners in the hands of an angry God. It wasn't soft, it wasn't comfortable, but it was real. People wept. People repented. They felt awakened. Soon, another voice carried the message even further. George Whitefield, a traveling preacher speaking to crowds in the thousands, out in open fields, in towns and cities across the colonies. Rich and poor, young and old, all hearing the same message. You must be born again. This movement changed something important. Before the awakening, faith flowed through institutions. After the awakening, it became personal. People began asking, what do I believe? Where do I stand with God? Barriers started to fall. New churches formed. Different denominations grew. Ordinary people found their voice. Not just in religion, but in life. And slowly, quietly, a new idea took hold. If each person is equal before God, then maybe they are equal in other ways too. A few decades later, As the nation began to grow, another wave came, the Second Great Awakening. This time, it moved west, across the frontier, at camp meetings, large outdoor gatherings, where people traveled miles just to be there. One of the most famous, the Cane Ridge Revival. Thousands gathered, preaching, singing, prayer, day and night. Faith was no longer confined to buildings. It was alive, moving with the people. But it didn't stop at belief. It moved people to act. Out of these revivals came efforts to improve society, ending slavery, promoting education, caring for the poor. Many believed their faith called them to make the world better. Men and women who never held power now felt a responsibility to shape their communities. So what did the Great Awakenings do? They reminded Americans that faith is personal. It's not just inherited. They encouraged individual responsibility before God and neighbor. They strengthened a growing belief that each person matters, that liberty is not just political, but spiritual. And when the time came for independence, many were already used to thinking for themselves. So, did the revolution begin with muskets? Or did it begin with something quieter? A sermon, a prayer, a change of heart? The Great Awakenings didn't write the Constitution. They didn't sign the Declaration, but they helped shape the kind of people who would. Faith, freedom, and personal responsibility. These ideas didn't appear overnight. They were formed over time in moments like these. Understanding the Great Awakenings helps us understand the American story. Thanks for watching, Patriot Hippie. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Until next time, peace, freedom, and the American story.